10 most bizarre animal experiments in history. Throughout history, scientists have experimented with animals in their quest for knowledge. While most of these experiments seemed logical, a few bordered on the downright insane. Some were so mind-bogglingly weird that we can't help but ask, what on earth were they thinking? 10. Two-headed dogs. While reading like something out of an X-Files plot, there are tons of well-documented records of scientists who successfully grafted one dog's head onto another dog. American scientist Charles Goodyear managed to achieve this feat in the early 1900s. His creation lasted for 26 minutes. During the Cold War, Russian scientists A.G. Konevsky and Vladimir Demikov successfully replicated Goodyear's experiments in separate incidents. As Konevsky's operation was accidental, he wanted to perform a heart transplant instead. It was Demikov who gained worldwide notoriety for his two-headed dogs. He improved the grafting process and was able to complete 20 operations. Of the 20 subjects, one survived up to a month. 9. Male turkeys were aroused by severed heads. In the 1960s, researchers Martin Shine and Edgar Hale observed male turkeys that mated with models of female turkeys instead of the real thing. They thought male turkeys would enjoy a female without a head, so they removed said appendage for science. 8. Monkey head transplant. American scientist Robert White is credited as the first man who successfully performed a true head transplant. While Demikov grafted an extra head onto a living dog's body, White went the extra mile and managed to transplant a severed monkey head on another specimen's decapitated body in the 70s. Prior to that operation, White had successfully attached the dog's brain onto another dog and kept the monkey's detached brain alive outside its body. From an interview with White himself, the decapitated monkey revived after it was reattached to the body and even tried to bite a member of White's team. However, the monkey couldn't move his body as there was no method yet of reattaching the brain to the spinal cord. The monkey lived for a day and a half before expiring. 7. Franken-Kitty. German scientist Carl August Weinhold believed that the human brain was like a battery that was attached to several wires, namely the nervous system. This real-life Dr. Frankenstein set out to prove his point in 1817 when he performed an experiment on a kitten. In his own words, Weinhold provided explicitly gory details of his experiments. The animal lost all life, all sensory functions, voluntary muscles movement, and eventually its pulse. Afterward, I filed both cavities with the aforementioned amalgam, which is zinc and silver. For almost 20 minutes, the animal got into such a life tension that it raised its head, opened its eyes, finally got up with obvious effort, hopped around, and sank down exhausted. 6. The Lazarus Project. In the 1930s, University of California researcher Robert Cornish believed that he could revive dead organisms as long as they hadn't suffered major organ damage. He asphyxiated 4 fox terriers, which he all named Lazarus, the biblical character whom Jesus brought back to life, and placed them in a seesaw-like machine. He failed to revive his first 2 subjects, but succeeded with the last 2. Although blinded and severely brain damaged, Lazarus 3 and 4 lived for months at Cornish's home. 5. Shock the Puppy Experiment. In a follow-up to the infamous Milgram experiment, researchers C.L. Sheridan and R.G. King came up with an even more brutal version. They hypothesized that some of the subjects suspected that their human victim was faking the electric shocks, so they decided to replace the victim with a live puppy. After the test, the researchers compiled their data and reached a shocking conclusion. Of the 26 subjects, 13 men and 13 women, all the women administered the shock subs to the highest level. On the other hand, 50% of the men refused to administer any more shocks they perceived as severe. 4. Elephants high on LSD. LSD is a powerful drug, one that brings about a lot of visions and quite the high. Researchers Louis Jolin West and Chester M. Pierce wanted to know what would happen if they gave acid to an elephant. The elephant was ingested with 297 milligrams of LSD, which is over 3,000 times more than the recommended dose for a human being. 3. Dolphin gets intimate with humans. In 1967, researcher John Lilly wanted to discover whether a dolphin would get intimate with a human being. Peter, the male dolphin, was taught basic English words. After a time, Peter tried to mate with Margaret Howe, Lilly's assistant. Margaret used her hands and feet on the dolphin to give it sexual pleasure. Toward the end, she concluded that Peter trusted her enough to be intimate with her. 2. Jellyfish in space. Dr. Dorothy Spagenberg, a scientist at the Eastern Virginia Medical School, was hoping to learn the effects gravity would have on those born in space. She decided to launch jellyfish into space, 60,000 in total. Unfortunately, when they were brought back to Earth, the space-borne jellyfish were noted to have greater pulsing abnormalities than usual, which was a fancy way of saying they had vertigo because they couldn't adapt to the gravity. The scientists concluded that humans who share similar gravity-sensing appendages with the jellyfish would likely experience the same problems if they were also born in space. 1. Disembodied dog head. In 1928, Russian scientist Sergei Brukhonenko shocked his fellow Soviet scientists when he presented his bizarre life support machine. He claimed his auto-ejector machine made it possible to keep a head alive through continuous blood circulation while the rest of the body went through intensive surgery. To prove his point, he presented a film of what appeared to be a disembodied dog's head being tested to various stimulations. Amazingly, the head blinked when he shone light in its eye and flinched when he banged the hammer on the table nearby. Finally, he fed the head a piece of cheese, which went through the esophageal tube.